Hello, everybody. Happy Wellness Wednesday. I am streaming live in a couple different places right now. I know I'm live on my main Facebook page. I'm live in my personal educational lifestyle health group. And then I'm also live in my company team's learning group to learn and understand more about health and wellness and things like that. So if you pop on, say hello, let me know that you're here. Today is going to be a little educational. This isn't going to be long because once you get it, you can always do this. Okay. So my topic today that I'm going to talk about is reading labels and understanding labels. Okay. There's so often I think, so often I feel like people know, like, I should look at nutritional labels, or I should see how many carbs are in something, or I should make sure, like, to look at sugars. But do you understand, how much of something, right? Or do you understand that the actual ingredients in the food is almost more important than the nutritional label? Okay. So hang on one sec. Theo, lower that, please. Now he's going to turn it up because I'm talking. All right, you guys. So, I'm going to compare just a couple things today. And like I said, you're going to be able to do this for everything. I'm going to make it very simple, but you're going to be able to do this. And and here's the thing, you guys, many people will tell me it's probably one of the biggest struggles. And comment below if this is a struggle for you. But the time to read it, right? Or is the time to read it a problem? Or is it not understanding how to read the label? Or is it you don't know what the ingredients are, so you don't even want to, you don't even want to look at that. Googling it would take forever. You know what I mean? Like, what is it about reading labels that for you feel is difficult? Or maybe even for your kiddos. Hold on a sec, you guys. Hey, Theo, lower that, please. No, you need to lower it. I'll shut a door. You guys, you have to understand, when I am talking, he raises the volume so that he can hear his show a little better. But okay, so all of the above, yes. And that's usually the case. I hear more common than not, I don't have time to read the label, or I don't understand how to read the label. Okay. Let me tell you, just like everything, I tell my business partners this. I tell people who come into business with me or people who are going to work for the first time, like, take a little bit of time to educate yourself on the products or on the ingredients. And then after that, you're going to get it. You'll continue to get it. Okay. You'll know exactly, like, keywords, key things you shouldn't have, things that will spark, different causes for, maybe it's inflammation, or maybe it's a chemical, or whatever it may be. Okay. Once you get those words down, when you look at the back of something, you will know right away, okay, I'll put that back. I'll get something else. Right now, you guys understand, and I always like to preface with this, it is not something that you need to feel so guilty about because maybe you're purchasing a lot of these things, okay, that I'm going to share about today. But slowly taking things out and slowly adding in healthier items doesn't mean you have to drastically, like, throw everything out in your pantry, whatever, and also doing things in moderation. You guys, this is what I teach my children all the time. My son will ask me, Mom, why shouldn't we drink soda? And I say, Theo, we shouldn't drink soda because of the chemicals in there, because of the added sugar. It's not good for your body. And as you grow, you want to keep your body healthy and strong, right? These are things that we know. But for him, he always asks, like, well, why shouldn't we have candy all the time? Why shouldn't I have ice cream all the time? And I tell him, this is why, right? I always explain the why. And then I say, but if you have it in moderation, now soda, you guys you'll know I do not allow that. But other things, candy and ice cream, whatever. If we have it for special occasions, I explain to them, you can do these things in moderation, right? If it becomes a lifestyle where it's happening every day, which is why I do not allow soda in my house, because it becomes a lifestyle, right, you guys? It becomes that lifestyle of it, then we have a problem, okay? So let me break it down a little bit. I'm going to go over, let's start with breads, okay? I feel like breads is one of the most common things that people go and buy, right? All right, so when you are reading labels on breads, does anybody, like, just if you're on with me, comment, do you buy regular bread, like white bread, wheat bread? What do you like to go for? Do you go for whole grain? What is your, like, when you go towards bread, what is your like go-to breads? Okay. And obviously I know a lot of people will be watching the replay of this, so comment when you're watching, but what is your go-to in breads? For me, before I educated myself, I was always that whole grain or whole wheat type of person. Always, no matter what breads I went for. Okay. And I was like, oh, well, look at these sandwich thins. They're whole grain, they're whole wheat, these sandwich thins, right? So I would just take them. One, they're thin, right? So I was like, ooh, less carbs, right? And two, they're whole grain and they have seeds, so they look healthy, right? This was before I educated myself. You guys, I want to explain to you. You want to make sure you flip it over, and this big section right here filled with ingredients, you need to understand it, okay? Many breads out there have a very large, big section full of added ingredients, okay? Now, let me tell you one thing about breads. All of you, and I know people will say, well, buying organic's more expensive. Buying organic's more expensive. You are absolutely right. But there are certain things you should be buying organic. Because if it's bread, again, if somebody eats bread every day, like you make your kids a peanut butter and jelly, they should be eating organic breads. Okay. Now let me explain to you why. And I'm going to read this directly from a published document. Okay. From it's called Food Matters, but it's there was a peer-reviewed research paper that was done and published in the Journal of Interdisciplinary Toxicology. This was for celiac disease, you guys. Okay. So it said, there was a claim against non-organic, non-organic and organic breads, right? And does it really make a difference? So this peer-reviewed study showed that celiac disease, gluten intolerance, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, have all been on the rise worldwide. We all know that. I think everyone knows that. And the rise of these conditions has a linear relationship with the growing use of glyphosate. You guys, it's a herbicide. It's called Roundup. Okay. And it's sprayed on conventional wheat products. So understand that when you're not buying organic, you guys are getting these added chemicals into your foods, into your breads, into your wheats. Okay. And what they have found with this, glyphosate in general is a deadly active ingredient. Okay. It's not like it's a chemical. It's not something that we should be ingesting. Obviously, they've tested certain levels of it. But understand that over time, what happens, and this is where I'm not going to read all this to you, and I can always put this article in there. But over time, what it does to the body, where am I? I'm losing my place here, you guys, because I'm reading a peer review. It's not the easiest thing. Inflammation issues, diseases. I can't find my one section that I highlighted, of course. Oh, rates in diabetes have gone up, obesity, heart disease. Okay. Rates in Hashimoto's, multiple sclerosis, dementia, lupus. You guys, these are all things that they realize from, and again, it's not just breads, but they realize what this glyphosate, what that herbicide does to the body as it's taken in over and over again. And again, you think about breads, egg, and milk. That's what a lot of people like. If that's all they had, that's what they go for, right? So try and find organic. Organic is going to be that first keyword. Okay. Now, let me explain to you. When you're looking at the label, many people go and look at the carbs. And yes, you should be watching your carbs. You also should be looking at the sugars. Every label has total sugars and then added sugars, okay? Added sugars is where, total sugars in general is where you should be, looking at, because you should find what type of sugar is it? Is it a natural sugar? Is it a chemical sugar? Okay? And usually you guys, when you're reading it, if it's high in sugar, it's going to be up at the top. So anything that the most amount of the ingredient is going to be higher, and then the least amount of the ingredient used is going to be at the bottom, just an FYI. So for here, I don't even know what sugar they ended up using, but there's sugar in here. Oh, sugar. It just says sugar. So I'm sure it's some sort of chemically derived sugar in here. Now, if it says cane sugar or honey or syrup, maple syrup or molasses, those are all sugars, right? There's chemical sugars, sucralose, just plain sugar. It just depends on, again, what it is. I'm trying to think of like all the names of sugars. There's so many different names. Go Google. Again, you got to do some of your own due diligence here. Go Google hidden sugars in food, and you'll get a whole list of names, and just screenshot that. So when you're looking, you know, right? But the added sugar is really important, because many times people will say, oh, it has this X amount of sugar, and they don't realize that added into it is additional sugar. So sometimes it'll say like 16 grams of sugar, added is 8 grams of sugar. That 8 grams of sugar is additional, you guys, to what you naturally have in there or what's added. Usually that added sugar, it tends to be the artificial sugars, things like that. So also look at how many ingredients. So again, we're just comparing this bread here. Look at how many ingredients in here. Tons. And one of the ingredients in here that I actually went to, well, 2 of them. One was soy lecithin, okay? And that's in a lot of things, you guys. If you've heard of soy, and it's, let me see if I can zoom in here. You've heard, it's a very last ingredients over here, soy lecithin. It is literally in, probably if you go look at your pantry and things that your kids like to eat, it's in there. I almost guarantee it, okay? If you've heard of that word, or maybe you haven't heard of that word and you look now, you're going to know that word, but this is what it is. It's a food additive that comes in several different sources, one of them being soy, okay? It is generally used as an emulsifier or a lubricant when added to foods, okay? But here's the deal, you guys. What happens with soy lecithins, emulsifiers, but in general, all these things, again, can wreak havoc on the body if it's used consistently, if it's something your kid is taking in. If they eat this bread every single day, you yourself too, and your inflammation rises, different, levels in your body rise, diseases, all of these types of things, you have to understand. And I feel like so often people blame so many other things for sicknesses, illnesses, whatever it may be. But you guys, the food we put in our body is one of the number one things. And sadly, here in America, we have so many additives and chemicals that are in our food that if you can eat raw whole food, you will be golden. I guarantee you, like, it would be absolutely, and any doctor who is a good doctor would tell you this. If you can eat a healthier diet, almost always, if you start with foods, you guys, almost always, whatever diseases, sicknesses, all of those things, you will feel better. Things can change. Things can happen, right, you guys? But understand, if you're eating all of these types of foods with all of these added ingredients, it's not the nutrition label. It's these ingredients that make a huge, huge difference. And so often I even think, you guys tell me, if you in high school, I remember this, I was not shown how to read ingredients. I was shown how to read nutrition labels. I was shown how to read carbs, fibers, whatever is on there. I don't even look at that stuff anymore, you guys, but whatever's on there. Were you too? Were you taught how to read a nutrition label or how to actually understand what ingredients are in your food? Because that's where the switch needs to come. Yes, you should understand the nutrition, but get this, you guys, if you are eating healthier foods, the nutrition label doesn't necessarily play a big part. Okay. Now, again, I'm not saying this for everybody, but if you are eating healthier options without all the added ingredients, chemicals, sugars, whatever else is added in there, usually you don't have to stare at that nutrition label. Okay. Now let me compare. That was one bread, right? I just showed you because I feel like a lot of people go and get the thins because they think they're healthier. They're really not. Okay. But let me show you sourdough. Who on here, can you comment if you eat sourdough bread? Okay. I was never a big sourdough bread person until I got educated. I say this every time, you guys, like the more you can educate yourself, I promise you, your body, your kids' bodies in years from now are going to thank you tenfold. Like, absolutely. And if you don't, you will just see what happens. And I'm not saying that to scare anybody. It's reality. It is reality, you guys. If you don't change the way that you're intaking foods or what you're putting into your body, that effect, it might not be now, it might not be for 20, 30 years from now, but it will take a toll. Okay. I love sourdough bread. Yes. My cousin, she actually makes her own now, but this sourdough bread If you want to get one of the best sourdough breads and you don't want to cook your own, this is at Whole Foods. It's called Z Best Sourdough. Okay, you guys, it's literally like we eat it. Obviously, it's huge. It's like so long, this big. Now, this, nothing. I get way more sandwiches out of this. Yes, is this a couple bucks more? Absolutely. But I'm going to explain to you why. Okay, now, all of the ingredients you just saw in here, you guys, all of them. See all those? Tons. And we already talked about some are emulsifiers. Oh, I didn't even tell you the other one. The other one in there is a fiber. It's called cellulose fiber. And it actually is a fiber that gives vegetables and fruits their structure and keeps them together. But get this, you guys, people think, oh, it's a fiber. It's a fiber. That's great. We need fiber. Guess what? This is a fiber that can be eaten, but it's not digested. It literally is not digested in the body. So when you're eating bread and you're wondering why your belly hurts, well, there you go. Okay. So here's natural sourdough bread. Listen to the ingredients in this, you guys. This is it. Organic wheat flour, right? We want to do organic, right? We learned that from the very beginning of this. We want to do organic. Organic sourdough, fermented, organic flour and water. Okay. You want to make sure that if you're especially having sourdough, it's fermented. Salt. 3 ingredients, you guys, 3 in your bread for maybe $3 more. And you get way heck of a lot more sandwiches out of it. So you understand it doesn't have to be more expensive and it doesn't have to be too hard. It's the matter of knowing what you're reading. Okay. Now, again, I don't look at nutrition labels anymore, really. But I'm trying to see your total carbs. If you're having serving size, okay. One slice of sourdough bread is 21 grams of carbs. Like if I was going to read this, one slice of sourdough bread. Okay. One of these rolls is 28 grams of carbs. Done. Like you guys, that is the easy switches that you can do. Pull out something, put in another. Okay. So that's one thing. All right. Obviously that bread is one of the best breads. I get that at Whole Foods. It's called Z's Best. It's probably somewhere else. I don't know. All right. Let's do another one. Wheat Thins. I feel like these are like a big, everyone has them. We've had this box for like almost probably a year and a half because my kids really don't get to eat Wheat Thins. But when we have parties, I also am very open to whatever you want at a party. All right. So in here, you guys, understanding again, when I look at the ingredients for Wheat Thins, okay, when I look at the ingredients here, I don't see something terrible. I don't see like all these added chemicals, things like that, but whole grain wheat flour, right? So we talked about having organic wheat. It does make a big difference because of the glyphosate, the Roundup that is being used in conventional wheat. If you are eating Wheat Thins on top of a sandwich, when like, whatever, if this is coming, do you get where I'm going with this? If it's becoming a consistent thing, you're just adding more and more and more. Okay. Also in here is canola oil. Now, when you look at your oils, you guys, you should be trying to find expelled or expressed oils. Okay. That's a really, really just key term when you're looking at oils. Those are going to be much, much healthier oils for you. Canola oil, what's the canola, the vegetable, and I'm drawing a blank on the brand Crisco. I think that's canola oil too. Probably the worst oils out there. Okay. And that's oils that literally our grandparents were our grandparents were using actual butter, but our parents and that generation, canola oil, vegetable oil, those were massive, massive oils. And again, what they found is this inflammatory issues with it, is the what it does to the lining of your stomach, your intestines, things like that, okay? Being able to digest it, absorb it. Also, same thing in here, added sugars. A lot of people are like, oh, they're Wheat Thins, they're just crackers. There's sugars in here. There's added sugars in here. And the sugar in here is cornstarch and malt syrup. Probably the worst 2 sugars you could possibly have together, okay? Okay, so now let me show you a snack, because many people will say, well, what about snacks for kids? What should I do for snacks for kids, right? This is our go-to. My daughter and my son love these. So you think about the fruit roll-ups, you guys, okay? I wouldn't even buy those. So I couldn't even compare it to you, but fruit roll-ups, I'm already going to tell you. There's dyes, okay? If you guys see things with like red dye 40, yellow, blue, green, any of those dyes, no, 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 okay? You're going to see added chemical sugars in there, artificial flavors, colorings, just nothing natural whatsoever in a fruit roll-up, okay? Now, these little guys, yes, again, they are more expensive and there's less of them in there, but listen to the ingredients in here. Literally, apples, pears, raspberries, black carrot extract. That's all. That's all it is. So I can feel much better about my kid eating a roll-up, eating something like this, okay? No added sugars. So the only thing I'll tell you right now, personally, I look at a nutrition label is this added sugar aspect. I know some people really do need to focus on carbs, okay? But remember, make sure you're getting the right carbs, right? If your carbs are lower, but you're getting a bunch of chemical additives into the ingredient list, you are doing nothing better for your body there. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's talk about when we look at supplements, right? So I know this is one that I've literally had in my cabinet for a long time now, because when I was teaching, I used to take this all the time. Again, once I got educated, I realized, oh my gosh, I probably should have looked at the added ingredients. You guys, tell me, how many of you take this? Do any of you take Sambucol? It was like my go-to. Whenever I would start to feel sick or whenever I had a sore throat, I would be like, I'm going to get that. And I'll tell you why. Okay. Now I was still sick. I don't know if it helped me or not, but now that I know what I'm reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, the more that I would do that every single time, the worse it was doing for my body. So in here, so you are getting vitamin C, you are getting zinc, you're getting elderberry. Okay. So that's what I would see. And I'm like, okay, great. That's what I want. That's what I need. Now I wasn't getting any natural one out of there. Okay. These are all chemically derived, but I was getting it. But now in the other ingredients, the very first ingredient, you guys, is maltodextrin. I'm going to show you what that says so you can all see. If you see anything that has that word in it, or anything that has the oils that we talked about before, okay, these are some key words that you can think about, or anything that has non-organic wheat, okay, those are things you should start to switch. But this is in so many things. Okay, let me explain to you what maltodextrin is, okay? Now, maltodextrin is a type of carbohydrate. So first off, it's a carb, right? So many people are trying to like cut carbs, not have as many, and then they're taking in these other products that say lower carbs, but they put in maltodextrin, okay? It undergoes an intense processing. It comes in a form of a white powder from rice, corn, wheat, and potato starch. White rice, corn, wheat, and potato starch, all non-organic, okay? Its makers first cook it. So they cook it. They add in acids or enzymes into it to break it down. Okay. And then the final product becomes water soluble so that it can be eaten. You guys. Now, what they have found over years and years of people putting this in our foods and in our bodies is that it leads to the promotion of intestinal inflammation. Intestinal inflammation. So when we think about all of this stomach and gut issues around, we wonder why. It didn't just happen, you guys. It's not like we just started growing up and eating great and healthy and all of a sudden we all have these gut issues. No, it's because of the added crap that's in our food. That is where you need to take a stand and go look and take those things off your shelves, especially for the sake of your kids, because they're starting with it so young that as they age, it's just going to get worse and worse sooner, right? So another one is this one, this brand. I see it everywhere, right? This is a brand new bottle, you guys. Brand new. So cool. All right. So this had in it, okay, this one was really inexpensive, which is why I didn't mind purchasing it. But, okay, this has in it vitamin D and calcium, okay? First ingredient, soybean oil, okay? We don't want soybean oil. Gelatin, vegetable oil, soy lecithin, all the ones that I talked about before. Yellow dye, okay? Same thing if you go look at Tylenol, you guys, right? So understand everything in moderation, of course. But if moderation becomes a weekly thing, that's no longer moderation. Okay. Now, when I explain to you, these are things that are out on the shelf that many people like to go get, right? Because it's the first thing they see. They're thinking like this one, especially, right? They're like, oh, it says advanced immune, vitamin C, zinc. I need that. Oh, it also says the doctors are the number one doctor recommended thing. It's so funny when I hear that because I have friends who are doctors And they're like, no, I don't recommend that. No, but of course it's going to say that. And that's a marketing strategy. You guys don't fall into it. But now you guys obviously know I work for a company, and I'm very proud of that company because of how I can read the labels and be very proud of them. So when I explain to you what were in these that are those like #1 sellers out there, take a comparison to like our one of our vitamins. I just grabbed Balance. This is our multivitamin. And in here, you're going to get vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, all from plants. No chemicals, no synthetics, no chemically derived anything. You're going to get a microbiome food blend. Okay. When we talked about the other ingredients in this, we got soybean oil, gelatin, vegetable oil, corn oil. I mean, 3 different oils, soy lecithin, titanium dioxide. You guys, you didn't put calcium in your body. You put crap in your body. That's what happened there. In here, you got microbiome food blend, ashwagandha, dandelion, shiitake mushrooms, goji berries, carrot powder. You have wild yam, acai. You guys see, there's a big difference. When people say, oh, but your nutrition products are more expensive. Yeah, they are. You're right. Because if we were going to go cheaper, we'd be giving you crap. And we're not doing that. So understand when you are reading labels, make sure that you're not only just looking at carbs, fibers, sugars. Look at the actual ingredients that make up that product. The less, here's a few tips, less ingredients, the better, okay? If you can't read them, they're probably synthetic or chemicals, but go look it up. Go look it up. Don't fall for the front of the box, right? And make sure, we talked about maltodextrin, no. Any oils that are not expelled or expressed, okay? Those are going to be your better ones. Any dyes, right? We don't want dyes, no dyes in our food. Added sugars, we really don't want added sugars. I mean, there are added sugars in everything, but if you're going to find sugars, you want it to be a natural sugar, right? As best as possible, like honey. I know we'll see organic cane sugar. That doesn't mean that the sugar should be high just because it's a natural sugar, right? You guys understand that? But those are the things when you're looking at ingredients, you want to make sure that you are looking at things that are going to help your body, not hurt your body. Okay. And I know, trust me, I get it. I know you like to indulge. I like to indulge. We all do. Just like I tell my son, everything in moderation. But if moderation becomes weekly, it's no longer moderation. Okay. You guys understand that. As you age, if it becomes more and more and more, that you're grabbing wheat thins every single day, but on top of it, you're eating your sandwich thins and you're adding all of those chemical additives to your body. And then you're adding in, Lord knows, maybe you're having McDonald's for lunch and Taco Bell for dinner, whatever it may be. You have to understand that as your body ages, those things are not going to do a service to your body. It's going to do a disservice to your body. Okay. So if you have questions, and by the way, if you do eat fast food, you can look at the nutritional labels in your fast food. They're all online. Every single one of them is online. We went out, we were at a play place and I was stopping, got Chick-fil-A on the way home. And I pulled up, you're able to pull up the nutritional labels, you guys. You can do that. Sometimes you don't want to because you're there and I get it. And you're like, just give me the food. I don't even want to know. But if it becomes, again, something that's happening frequently, you should know the nutritional labels and see what you're getting. All right. All right, you guys, I hope that was helpful. Bye.